Right, without any waste of time, you guys have been told, why are you here? No. Speak to a Scientist program. And many of you don't know that this program doesn't start today with you. Let me just talk a little about Speak to a Scientist. I'm Tolani Nameka, your program director for this afternoon. Speak to a Scientist is a program or a platform whose objective is to provide an opportunity to clarify thoughts, generate conclusions, develop theories through asking questions, differently, and expose our own clientele, which is you, our public members and visitors, to new ideas and perspectives, thereby encouraging the growth of new understanding. Because science of so many years has proven to be a benefit to human life, giving an opportunity to establish norms that you as learners and public members inhibition, motivate sharing, and promote respectful communication. It is in this regard that we would like to invite you as trainees of ICT to place a higher cognitive demand on you on more conventional monologic forms of classroom interaction. This interaction intended in building on your thinking, which requires more elaboration, revisiting ideas, and clarification of meaning that will be witnessed as soon as our guest speaker ascends the stage today. It is with this repute that as a science center, our vision sits precisely on the notion of learner-public engagement, which today the agenda of the program that pragmatically demonstrate to you via various modes of communication why science is central to everyday life in terms that even a lay person can understand, starting with why what we do, we deem it relevant. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting our time, I shall now call upon our Senior Science Center Manager, Mr. Akash Dasrath, to come and introduce our guest speaker this afternoon. Akash Dasrath, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tolani. Good day, I guess. It's already midday right now. Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Speak to a Scientist event. It is with great pleasure that I'd like to welcome our guest speaker today, Professor Arthur Mutambara. Professor Arthur Mutambara is the Director and full Professor of the Institute for the Future of Knowledge, IFK, at the University of Johannesburg. He is a world-renowned roboticist, academic author, Pan-Africanist, and technology strategist. Professor Mutambara is also the director of IFK's Decentralized Artificial Intelligence and Control Systems Research Group and drives the African Agency in Public Health initiative within the Future of Health Research Group. Interestingly enough, he is also the former Deputy Prime Minister of Zimbabwe. It's quite interesting. And he has worked as a research scientist at NASA, a visiting professor at MIT, and a managing consultant with McKinsey & Company in the United States. Professor Mutambara is a chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institute of Engineering and Technology, a professional engineer, a fellow of the Zimbabwe Institute of Engineers, a fellow of the Zimbabwean Academy of Sciences, a senior member of IEEE, and a WEF Young Global Leader. Professor Mutambara holds a PhD in robotics and mechatronics and an MSc in computer engineering, both from the University of Oxford, where he was also a Rhodes Scholar. So we've got quite an esteemed colleague with us today who's going to be addressing you. So without further ado, let's give a big round of applause for Professor Mutambara.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that propaganda. I hope this will be more for a conversation, so I'll speak, but then also leave some time for comments and questions from the floor. We are trying to understand the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution and how we can leverage them in the economies of Africa, in South Africa, and globally. Let's start with Saibon. Saibono, what is your mandate? Math, science, technology, education. Building capacity for South African science, engineering, and technology. Implementing the Gauteng mathematics, science, and technology education strategy. What we are saying today, you cannot do this in the form of business as usual. You have to do it differently. If you do understand the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, you've got to do this differently if you are going to leverage the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. What's your vision? Your vision is a world-class science center capacitated to assist in instilling a culture of science and technology. You've got to do that differently if you do understand the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. Acquiring science, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. It can't be business as usual in pursuit of this vision, which is a grand vision of yours. The way you develop and innovate new products has to be different in the fourth industrial revolution. The way you compete in the global world of science is going to be different in the world of the fourth industrial revolution. So we're going to see, what do we mean by the fourth industrial revolution? What are the technologies? What is the impact of that revolution to science and technology, to the economy, to the way we do our work in everyday lives? As we do this, let us not forget the basics. The fourth industrial revolution is just one pillar. We must still pursue continental integration, regional integration. The Africa Free Continental Trade Area is important. African unity is important because under globalization, South Africa is too small to play a role. We must work as SADC. We must work as Africa. 1.4 billion Africans. That's the only way we can maximally utilize technology and improve the quality of life of our people. The Chinese are successful because, in addition to many other things, they are an economy of 1.3 billion people working together. We must not forget innovation and entrepreneurship. The fourth industrial revolution must leverage the other pillars. And as we do so, we can then solve global challenges and bring about sustainable development. This is the framework in which we understand and leverage the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. We must have a vision in the fourth industrial revolution. The vision is what we call the house on the top of the hill. Where do we see ourselves in 10 years' time leveraging technologies? And then once we've identified the vision, we say, how are we going to get there? That's the strategy, the game plan to take you from where you are to the promised land. But more importantly, implementation, implementation, implementation. Who's going to do what? When are they doing it? How are you going to measure success? What are the milestones? And how are you going to feedback and get success? So as you have your vision at the center, be clear on the definition of a vision, the definition of a strategy, and more importantly, how you go about doing things. Doing things is more important than dreaming. Why fourth industrial revolution? It is a global or embracing transformation, changing the way we do business. changing the way we live, impacting all disciplines, economies and industries, redefining the very meaning of humanity. It is disrupting every industry. It is disrupting the way you teach here at the center. It is disrupting the way you understand your own mandate and your own vision. There are no exceptions to this. Just for context, the first revolution was from 1760 to 1870, which was water and steam. The second, electric power. The third, electronics and information technology. And now, the fourth industrial revolution. Fusing technologies, blurring lines between the physical, the digital, and the biological. Why a revolution? Because of the velocity of the changes, because of the scope of the changes, because of the system impact. The growth of AI in education, in commerce, and in governance is bringing about a revolution which we're calling the fourth industrial revolution. What are the technologies? Artificial intelligence, intelligent algorithms, augmented reality, human augmentation, or what we call human 2.0, big data, Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, nanotechnology, autonomous vehicles, drones, driverless cars, 3D printing, biotechnology, material science, renewable energy, energy storage, robotics and mechatronics, quantum computing, cloud computing, blockchain technologies, the cryptoverse. All these technologies, we must understand them. All these technologies, we must leverage them. Some might say, oh, don't you think those are for Japan? Those are for America. Guess what? If we are smart, if we are innovative, some of these technologies are more applicable in poor Africa than Japan and America. The notion of leapfrogging. Think about wireless telephony. When wireless telephone came through, there were no wires on the continent. So we leapfrogged wires to wireless. Right now, when I say M-Pesa, when I say EcoCash, these are global best practice. There's nothing in Japan, there's nothing in America, there's nothing in Europe which is as good as EcoCash or as good as M-Pesa. Why? Because our poverty, our lack of development became an opportunity to leapfrog. In the same vein, if you are clever, if you are innovative, some of these technologies will be more useful in poor South Africa, in poor Malawi, in poor Nigeria than they are in America and Japan. It's called leapfrogging. So energy storage, for example, how we can use solar power and then store the energy. Right now the technology of energy storage is very poor, so we are not storing enough. So anyway, don't be under any illusion that these high sciences, high technologies are more relevant to Europe. They might actually be more applicable to us. Our poverty, our lack of development becomes an opportunity to leapfrog. So let us understand them and leverage them. Well, we must also understand the definitions. Everyone's talking about AI, ML, they can't even define it. We must know what we mean when we say artificial intelligence. Intelligence programmed into and demonstrated by machines in contrast to natural intelligence. That's what we mean by AI. There's also AGI, which is much broader and more complex than AI. This is where you have technology which is generalized in a machine, just like you and me. We have technology to walk, technology to write, technology to play, but normally when you build robots, they have what we call specific task intelligence. When you now have general intelligence in a machine, you are defining what we call AGI. So you must have a rudimentary understanding of the terms. Machine learning, know what it means. Deep learning, know what it means. if you're going to leverage these technologies, you must understand them first. You can use them as buzzwords, but that is not effectual. What you need is to understand so you can leverage. Robotics, what does it mean? The intelligent connection of perception to action. Design and construction of machines that do things we normally ascribe to human beings. That's robotics. Before you leverage, you must understand. Big data. What we mean by that, how can we use it? Nanotechnology, 10 to the power minus 9 meters. Very small, building machines using nanotechnology. Designing and building a suit which you never need to wash. That's nanotechnology. Okay? Internet of Things, IoT. What do we mean? The interconnection and control via the internet of computing devices embedded in everyday objects and appliances. What about the Internet of Everything, a broader concept? Let us engage these technologies so that we can use them to improve the quality of life in South Africa, the quality of life in Africa through technology. Augmented reality, understand it and leverage it. Mechatronics, what do we mean? The synergistic integration of mechanics, electronics, and computer science to produce optimal products. We are saying it's no longer enough to say, I'm an electrical engineer, I'm a computer engineer, I'm a civil engineer. We are not interested, you are moribund and decadent. Go home. We want a mechatronics engineer who understands digital control systems, who understands mechanics, who understands CAD, sitting in the middle. Right now, if you are going to work in the 4th industrial revolution, you must understand some mechanics, some electronics, some computing. Otherwise, you'll be ineffectual as a traditional electrical engineer, ineffectual as a traditional mechanical engineer. You must have the synergy. Mechatronics as a discipline is what we're pushing for. Now, I also want you to have a sense of what they're saying at MIT, what they're saying at NASA, what they're saying at Google, what they're saying at Apple. So you understand this is a revolution throughout the world. So hopefully we can get a few remarks from the globe.
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do. The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
That was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the 4th Industrial Revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this 4th Industrial Revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
We need a different economic model that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, and that will be focused not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being.
We have energy technologies that can power our civilization, but how do we get it and implement it at the scale we need at a price that people around the world can afford?
If we're able to do something to transform cities, to make them more efficient, then the impact can be huge.
We can use asset tracking, we can use IT, we can use 3D printing to decouple growth from the resource constraints we have.
The question of adding quality to quantity, it's really about a diverse, safe, healthy, and just world with clean air, clean water, clean energy.
Together we are fighting to preserve our fragile climate from irreversible damage and devastation of unthinkable proportions.
The prediction of 5 million jobs lost by 2020 to technology is
In the next few years, I expect the digital transformation of life to bring huge changes. Everything from science to healthcare to sensors to robotics.
Whether it's information technology and the acceleration we see in artificial intelligence, you just look across the board and you can see a lot is happening.
It's really the notion of digital technology pervasively impacting every walk of life in every vertical industry in all parts of the globe.
The speed is mind-boggling. What I'm particularly concerned about it is how little the world is prepared for the fourth industrial revolution.
If we are not innovative, if we're not creative enough, it will be very difficult to survive in this century.
Countries in emerging markets should take the lead. Mobile platforms will define how fast the fourth industrial revolution will be embraced by the countries.
It's very difficult to try to bridge the gap between a borderless industrial revolution that's being governed by different policies and regulations in each territory and country.
We're always looking for new technology and how it makes the process more efficient.
Right. You have a flavor of how other people are thinking about this subject. In particular, you saw people from MIT, from Microsoft, from all over the world. It's a revolution that is affecting the entire world. And so I wanted you to have that perspective. Okay. So it can't be business as usual. It can't be business as usual. It has to be, for us to engage this world we're talking about, we need what is called critical thinking, mastering how to think, problem-solving capacity, structured thinking, blended learning, interdisciplinary approaches, ecosystem thinking, emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, existential intelligence, spiritual intelligence. I hope they're teaching you these kinds of intelligence here at the center. IQ is not enough. We need CQ, we need EQ, we need EXQ, we need SQ. We need to acquire what we call key competencies as opposed to traditional learning. Show me what you can do. They'll tell me I've got a matric from Crawford, I've got a degree from Wits, I've got a degree from UJ. I'm not interested. Show me what you can do. What are your skills? What are your competencies? Can you make a difference? Under the fourth industrial revolution, it's going to be about key competencies. Make sure you acquire the critical skills. Make sure you acquire the key competencies. Judgment, negotiation, cognitive capacity, flexibility, knowledge production. How many patents have you produced? How many companies have you built? How much knowledge have you created? This is how we can leverage the fourth industrial revolution. Intellectual property, knowledge ownership. That is what we need to be pushing for. Okay? And we can also show you some of the technologies. So you can have a sense of some of the robots. Can I get a sample, please? So you can actually see some of the robots. Can I get sound for this? Okay, but do what? Okay, anyway, so I'll just show you without sound. So you can see some of the robots, what they can do. And you must have the capacity to build these robots, the capacity to engage these robots, and then deploy them to solve problems in our lives. Okay? That's Honda Asimo from Japan. Okay? Honda Asimo from Japan. Okay, again, we need to make sure that we understand this. Now, when we look at these robots, are robots going to replace human beings? No. What we want is what we call human augmentation or human 2.0. If we can bring the robot and the human being to work together, we have better results than the robot on its own or the human being on its own. This is what we call human augmentation or human 2.0. So how do we do that? so that we have synergies between the machine and human being. Technologies that enhance human productivity or capability, add to the capacity of the human being, creating cognitive and physical improvements as an integral part of the human body. That's what we need to understand human augmentation, human 2.0. There are also limits, or there's work in progress. Can we have a robot that has human emotions, empathy, shame, embarrassment, love, and sympathy in a machine? Not yet, but work in progress. Can we have a machine that shows emotional intelligence? Can we have a machine that shows cultural intelligence? Not yet, but work in progress. In science, we never say never. We don't moralize in science. Can we build a machine that has intentionality? Intentionality is about a machine defying the programmer. It's one thing to program a robot that can move around here and follow your instructions. It's quite another to build a robot that says, today I'm not going to follow your instructions because I don't want to. Just like you defy your boss or you defy your teacher. Intentionality. Can you have intentionality in a machine? A machine that says that today I'm not going to walk. Not because I've got a bug, but because I don't want to walk. That's what we call, can we do that? Not yet, but work in progress. Superintelligence. Now, superintelligence is where we build a machine that is more powerful, more intelligent than the smartest human being. Now, we've done a lot of things about chess. You know, machine is now more intelligent on chess than everyone else, but we haven't done a machine that is more intelligent in terms of AGI, artificial general intelligence, than the most intelligent human being. We haven't done that yet, but it can be done. But guess what? When that does happen, we've got a problem. Because they'll take over the world and domesticate you. Because right now you have a dog at home, right? You got a mouse, you got a donkey, you got a horse. Because you're smarter than them. Right? That's why you keep them in as your pets. Now if the machine is smarter than you, it's going to keep you as its pet. We have not arrived there yet, but it might happen. There are also what we call hard AI problems. Understand what we mean when we say hard AI problems, okay? And what opportunities arise from that. COVID has been a great blessing for technology. I know we lost lives, but for technology, it was a big booster because it forced us to move towards 4IR. It forced us to adopt technology. Right now, as we speak, we are online. We can no longer do just an online meeting anymore. It's going to be a hybrid, online and in person. It's here to stay, COVID or no COVID. So COVID has forced us to accelerate the adoption of technology. And hybrid meetings are a good example of that. Why would you have a beautiful meeting like this and not share with people globally? So right now we are online, but we're here in Johannesburg. So COVID has been an accelerator of the revolution. You've read the phrase new normal. Please never use it. It's so bankrupt a concept. Why? We have waves of unrelenting disruptions. Why? We have ever-changing environment. There's a constant battle for survival or to thrive. With constant changes, we neither know nor agree on what a new normal means. Today's new normal is not tomorrow's new normal. So new normal becomes a misnomer. What's better is to use the phrase next normal. Next normal is a more dynamic and transient perspective. And it's much more appropriate in an ever-changing environment. So we must talk about the next normal because it's dynamic, it's changing. New normal, out of the door. Okay? And as I've emphasized already, you have to think about employability. With your little degree from UJ, with your little degree from Wits, from Harvard, are you employable? You might not be employable unless you have key competencies, key skills that industry is looking for. So employability becomes a key matter in higher education. Are you an entrepreneur? We're sick and tired of being sick and tired of producing workers. I'm looking for a job, I have a PhD. I'm looking for a job, I have a master's. How about taking your project, how about taking your idea, creating a business and becoming an employer? Job creation, entrepreneurship, innovation. This is what we want in the fourth industrial revolution. What can you do? Don't show me your certificate. Show me what you can do. That's what we're pushing for. Blended learning, multi-disciplines, cross-disciplines. An engineer who understands biology. An engineer who understands economics. An engineer who can read the Constitution. A history major who understands ICT. A history major who understands biotechnology. What we call the Renaissance man, the Renaissance woman. So I hope at this center you seek to create the Renaissance man, the Renaissance woman, because that's what will make us productive in the fourth industrial revolution. Silos, a lawyer who knows law only, an engineer who understands engineering only, won't be effective. We want Renaissance men and women who have what we call ecosystem thinking. That's what we're pushing for. And we must create jobs and think about patterns. The metaverse, another very interesting area in the fourth industrial revolution. Virtual reality space in which users can interact with computer-generated environment and other users. This one is going to be as important as the internet. In 10 years' time, if you're not in the metaverse, you are not alive. Just like if you are not on social media, if you are not on the internet, if you have no cell phone, you are dead. The metaverse will be such an important framework that everyone wants the metaverse. What do we mean? This is where we talk about the digital twin of an industrial plant. You have a complete replica of an industrial plant which you can monitor from here, and the plant is in Durban, and we do changes from here. Virtual environments designed to exert digital replicas of physical assets and allow rapid off-the-plant monitoring and testing. Let us understand the metaverse. Let us leverage the metaverse, where we have AI-driven predictive and preventative maintenance, AI-driven asset management and asset optimization, AI-driven building management system, BMS, maintenance, power, connectivity, data availability, and reliability. All these things are in the metaverse. So let us master this field. It's going to be as important as the internet. Metaverse jobs, a meta software engineer. What is that? Go figure. Engineers with expertise in large-scale system design, networking and data storage, distributed computing, AI, information retrieval, natural language processing, and user interface design. That's a new job for the metaverse. All these engineers from Harvard, from MIT, from UJ, from Pretoria, from this, are not qualified. They are moribund. We're looking for a meta software engineer, a new job. A Discord manager, a smart contract lawyer, a lawyer who can ensure that an agreement made in the metaverse is encoded in the metaverse, in blockchain, and used for the transaction. And for those who are in higher education or those who are in training, like this place here, be very careful. You are going to be disintermediated. You're going to be cut out by new companies. There's a company called Multiverse. And what basically this company does, it takes young people from high school, give them skills that industry is looking for, and go straight to industry. No university necessary. What we call disintermediation. Alternatives to traditional education by concentrating on skills and competencies, digital skills that are required. You can go and look it up. It was set up by UN Blair, the Summit Tony Blair. Just Google Multiverse, and you can read about that. And it is now making the university obsolete, which means the universities have to move. and stay with the program. What are some of the research areas? Data science across disciplines, decentralized artificial intelligence and control systems, metaphysics and machines, the future of health and industrialization, green futures, work of the future, African agents in industrial engineering advances, and also in health. Law and technology. Think about it. If you build a drone today, or a driverless car today, can you drive in South African roads? The law doesn't allow you to. The law hasn't moved. I can have a driverless car which works perfectly, but I can't use it in Zimbabwe or in Malawi because the laws don't talk about driverless cars. They talk about cars with a driver. So we need to look at how we can move law to keep up with technology. Otherwise, we're going to have products which can be used because the law is behind. So law and technology, digital sovereignty. Who owns your data that you are using and putting on Facebook, on Twitter? The future of work, AI and medicine, climate change. Can we use machine learning? Can we use artificial intelligence to solve matters of climate change? Can't we use those as tools to solve the climate change agenda? Those are some areas we need to look at. And what is the future of work, or what we call the work of the future? We need to investigate that, the implications of the fourth industrial revolution on work. As we conclude, we must emphasize that the starting point is understanding the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. The second part is how do we use them? Okay? For us here at the center, the way we teach maths, science, and technology cannot be the same under the fourth industrial revolution. We got to do maths, science, and technology education differently. The way we build capacity for South Africa around science and technology and engineering has to be different in keeping to the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. The way we implement Gauteng mathematics, science, technology, education strategy has to be modified in keeping with the demands and imperatives of the fourth industrial revolution. Yes, we want a world-class science center, but the way you instill the culture of science and technology is going to be done differently within the context of the fourth industrial revolution. The way you acquire science knowledge, the way you acquire science skills, the way you acquire science attitudes are going to be enabled by technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. The way you apply these acquired science knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop innovative products, again, is going to be different. We seek to compete globally. We seek to compete in the world. The way we are going to compete is going to be determined by our understanding of the fourth industrial revolution technologies and leveraging those matters. As we do all these things, let us not miss the big picture. South Africa is too small in economy. I'm sorry to announce. Nigeria is too small in economy. It's not consequential under globalization. We must think about how can we work together in SADC as a bloc to drive technology, to drive science and education. How can we work together as Africans, 1.4 billion Africans? How do we make sure we promote the culture of innovation, the culture of entrepreneurship? So let us make sure the basics, governance, good governance is important. Democracy is important. Corruption must not be encouraged. Because otherwise people say, oh, we're now doing 4IR, so corruption doesn't matter anymore. It matters. No looting, please. No stealing of elections. We must work together as Africans. Can you imagine if you rock up and say, here come, I'm the African. I speak on behalf of 1.4 billion people. You know, the Chinese will listen to you out of economics, not love. The Americans will entertain you out of economics and not love. Because 1.4 billion people are a major economic force, are a huge market. And all the resources, our diamonds, our gold, our silver under one command, will be able to influence the quality of life of our people. So let us combine regional integration, continental integration is one pillar, the fourth industrial revolution as a pillar, then innovation and entrepreneurship as a pillar. Then we can then drive sustainable development in South Africa, sustainable development in the continent, and solve global challenges. This is the framework we must always keep in mind. I thank you so very much for listening attentively. And now we need to move on to a Q&A so we can have your questions and suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. That was quite insightful, quite a profound insight. Guys, before we take question and answer, because we are also connected even on Zoom, I think we'll also take 5 questions from Zoom, and then we'll take 5 questions again in this auditorium. I'll take the mic to everybody who raised their hand, having a question for Prof. The platform is open for questions, so it will be 5 from here, and then 5 from there. Then we can just move on with the program. Let's start in the auditorium.
Prof, concerning the AI, artificial intelligence, I just want to know, what are the disadvantages of AI and what are the solutions towards the
Very quickly, technology is a double-edged sword. You can use it to build, you can use it to destroy. So some people can use artificial intelligence to oppress other people, to destroy other people, to destroy the environment, to advance their interests against common interests. So there's a big danger that the poor become poorer and the rich richer. So that's why we need agency as Africans to become players around AI. Let us design the algorithms. Let us build the gadgets. When you talk to Siri on your computer, what accent does Siri have? Can Siri understand Zulu? Xhosa? So if we do not become players, we become victims, we become subjects. So one way to counter the negative aspects of AI is us being players. Use AI for development, AI for education, AI for democracy, AI for the people. But that you can only do if you are writing the code, if you are building the machines, if you are investing in AI. Thank you very much. Let me have another one.
Right there, Prof. From our online, we have a question from Kenny Mabasa. May the professor graphically describe his view of the notion of nation-state in the 4IR?
Aha. One thing that has happened with AI, with globalization, with all these climate change challenges, is that the nation-state is now less important. Yes, we have nations, but it is important that SADC works for South Africa. It's important that Africa works for South Africa. Why? Because you cannot solve climate change in South Africa. You can make some efforts as SADC. You can make some efforts as the African continent. You make better efforts as the globe. So the nation state has become less important, less relevant. And also, for you to leverage the scale that comes with integration, you must be able to surrender some aspects of your national sovereignty. You see, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you want to work as Africa and drive that 1.4 billion Africans, all these diamonds and copper under one command, to become a super economy like China, you have to give up on your little South Africa, little Zimbabwe, little Nigeria. You must be able to say, number one, I'm an African first. A citizen of SADC second. South Africa third. de-emphasize national sovereignty, de-emphasize your national affiliation, and emphasize your attachment to SADC, your attachment to the continent, your attachment to the globe. The nation state is now moribund. It's a dysfunctional way of understanding AI and technology. In any case, who gave you those borders? Who gave you those borders? Those borders are relics of colonialism. When the 1884 Berlin Conference took place, just put a line. The wife was on this side, the husband that side. Botswana, Zimbabwe. The wife is this side. So the borders are so meaningless. You have people say same language, this country, that. Anyway, of course we have to use them now for managing our affairs. But don't have a strong affinity to a border which was imposed on you by a foreigner at the Berlin Congress. It has nothing to do with Africans. Yes, we have the identities, but our passion should be for SADC. Our passion should be for the continent, not little South Africa and its little economy. Next.
Prof, there was explanations about cognitive AI, so-and-so, unsupervised machine learning, supervised machine learning. But quick understanding there, why would we want to have an AI that is defiant?
Why not? You're asking the right question. In science,
yes,
the beauty is just science. Okay, this is why, okay, there are two things about science. There's science when you apply it for development. There's science where you pursue it for knowledge. One would want, wouldn't that be interesting really? To have a machine that says, hey, Professor Mutambara, today I'm not listening to you because I don't want to. That is a serious ability. I mean, whether you can use it or not is another thing. But if you as a scientist, as an engineer, can build a machine that tells the programmer, yes, Mr. Programmer, I see the code, but today, no, I'm not interested in that code. I want to do something else. What we, in terms of science, it's just an ability which is so sophisticated. Intentionality is a sophisticated capacity. How you use it is another conversation. Can I build a robot that shows emotion, embarrassment, love? Okay, we can say, what do you want to use that for? That's another conversation. But as a scientist, I'll be very interested to actually build a machine that will say, I'm embarrassed today. Oh, I love that one. Huh? The way you do it, you love somebody, you're embarrassed, you show him, you cry. If I can build a machine that cries, as a scientist, I'll be so excited. Whether there's an application for it, it's the job of this guy here, not me. Anyway, so you must always understand that science sometimes is about knowledge for its sake. But what we need to do also is to say, how do we use knowledge to build, to make our lives better?
Just to continue on that, there is also mentioning that our brains are wired to grow. So the more we teach the intelligence, the smarter it becomes. But also that capacity, how can we implement it in technology to govern the growth of where we're going, even if we can't see it as how it has been for thousands of years?
That's a very important point. The brain is like a muscle. When you train your muscles, they become stronger, they can lift more things. So the more you use your brain, the more you train your brain, the capacity of the brain goes up. So you can have the same thing in a machine by having what we call learning algorithms, yeah? Where you actually build capacity to learn in the machine. So you teach the machine, but the machine on its own build on more knowledge. But we can take that offline and give you more details. Next question.
Hello, sir. Are you Professor Arthur Mutambara?
Yes, I'm Comrade Arthur Mutambara. That's me.
Okay, nice to meet you. I'm Sam. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question on AI.
And be very quick. We don't have the whole day.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So we live in a world that is in crisis, an energy crisis. We depend more on coal to produce electricity, and we produce more carbon dioxide than ever. So as Africans, what is Africa's plan on energy to power the
Very, very important. Although we did not do the polluting was done by Western Europe and all these countries. We are also the victim of pollution, but we can't say, let us just do our core thing. Let us do oil. We must also migrate from fossil fuel to clean energy, maybe on our own terms, okay? Not on the terms of America or Europe, but on our own terms, because in the long run, it's unsustainable for us to depend on fossil fuel. However, we must address our own challenges. Our challenges are different from those of America. In Africa, we have what is called energy poverty. So before we talk about we must move from fossil fuel to clean energy, the African has no energy. There is no electricity. There is energy poverty on the continent. So in addition to migrating from fossil fuel to clean energy, we must make sure more of our people have access to energy, preferably clean energy. That's why we need to do a research in what is called energy storage. The sun is very potent. We have solar power, but unfortunately, the storage, the batteries are very inefficient. So we need to make progress on energy storage so we can harvest energy from the sun, store it in the batteries, use it when there's no sun. And we have a lot of sun on the continent. Let us make sure, on our own terms, we migrate from fossil fuels to clean energy. Clean being solar, wind, and also hydro. The Inga Dam project, again, it doesn't take off because there's no collaboration. The Inga Dam in the DRC will solve all of Africa's energy problems. But the Africans are busy beefing and reefing without working together to make Inga. Inga will be hydro. And that project, if we collaborate as Africans, can solve all of Africa's energy problems. So, yes, we must participate in the climate change agenda, but we must determine the issues. We must determine the path. We must determine the processes involved. We must not be dictated to by Uncle Sam or the Europeans. We must be masters of our own destiny because we know our issues.
Thank you, Prof. The next question from online is, what will be the first step in driving robotics and STEM-based subjects in today's school curriculums in Africa?
Start as early as possible. Start in kindergarten to expose them to the gadgets, to expose them to the science. Start in grade 1, grade 2, up to matric. The sooner, the better. Just think about it for those who are young and those who have little ones. If you give a little kid who is 9 years a cell phone that they've never used before, they'll figure it out in a minute or two. Give it an older guy, they're stuck. So young people are very amenable to learning these new technologies. Young people have an open mind. Old people are stuck in their ways. And so I think it depends. I mean, the educators are here, they can tell us, but start exposing young kids at kindergarten level to these technologies in an appropriate way. Start exposing them to the technologies in grade 1 going up to matric. By the time they come to university, by the time they come to this center, they must be familiar, if not the definitions, but on what works and what this is other. And then we need the policies as governments that encourage the understanding, that encourage the adoption of technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. So the government must put in place policies supporting the adoption of AI. The private sector must invest in education, and the products will then go to the private sector. An ecosystem approach. The private sector, the government, civic society, and the entirety of the nation. But more importantly, we need scale, we need numbers. So let us have a SADC strategy. Let us have an AU strategy. That's how we're going to be effective in terms of adopting STEM and using STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, as drivers of our economies as Africans.
Thank you, Prof. I think this one will be the last question, then we can wrap up.
Good day, Prof. I just wanted to get your thoughts on regulation, especially with the nation state now being more irrelevant due to these technologies. You did mention that sometimes laws can hinder new products coming into the market, but also non-regulation has also caused problems, especially in the crypto space. If you know about the current case with FTX, I think they lost like 24 billion in a day, something like that. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how regulation should be approached to kind of alleviate these sort of problems where it's the Wild West when it comes to...
It's a jungle out there. Technology is an enabler. Technology can be disruptive. Technology can be destructive. So we definitely need some kind of regulations. But then what you need to do is to learn from others. You can't just stick to your own regulations in one country without learning from country B and country C. And those regulations must keep changing. So you need to protect citizens from rogue elements who are going to abuse technology, who are going to rob them of their money. So, but what kind of regulations? Again, you need creativity and innovation around regulations. So there's no one size fits all. We're going to keep learning. So from that FTX crash, what are the lessons? What are the do's and don'ts? But you're not going to solve it forever. There will be another crash because new technologies are going to come up that you never thought of before and where the regulations don't exist. And you now work on the regulations after the failure. So regulations and the law are always playing catch up. So what you need is what we call a law commission that says, this is a law commission for technology, which is actively asking, what are the new things? What does it mean? Can we come up with a regulation? Can we come up with the law? You can't wait for the technology to be developed and then come up with the law. The law and technology must move together, which means we need different lawyers now. Not your foolish lawyers who are flamboyant, who speak good English and can't code. We need a lawyer now who can do code. A lawyer who can define superintelligence. A lawyer who can tell us about machine learning. A different lawyer, not the lawyer from UJ or from UCT, that old school lawyer. A different one. Again, that's difficult because laws also have the curricula and they've got their own regulations and how they train them. So if I tell them the lawyers from UCT are not good enough, they might be defensive, but they are useless because they don't know how to code. So they must have a coding class at UCT for the lawyers. They must have a class on these technologies, big data, machine learning at the law school. So I'm just saying you are correct. It's a jungle out there. And one way of doing it is to make sure everyone, the economists, the political leaders, who are the West, how can the political leaders come up with regulations when they don't understand technology? When they never finished matric and they're running the country boisterously, you know? So again, both the government, the policy makers, the MPs, they make the laws. So we need MPs, we need councillors, we need mayors who understand technology. Everyone must understand technology. So this mandate I had today is for everyone, irrespective of your discipline. If you're a teacher, if you're a historian, if you're a lawyer, if you're an economist, if you're an engineer, you got to step up to the plate. But yes, what is important is to predict the laws and predict the new regulations. But you never get it perfect. It's always going to be a problem because just think about it. 10 years ago, you couldn't know about Twitter or WhatsApp because it was not there. So you couldn't make the laws 10 years ago. You could make them now. But as you make them now, there'll be a new product which is different from WhatsApp and Twitter. So you're always going to be playing up, catch up. Any more?
Very true, Prof. I don't know from online, the colleagues, do I have any question? Let me take that. But this should be the last because we're running behind schedule. A very interesting presentation, Prof. Thank you. Can we get a copy of the presentation and if possible the recording, Nosipo from National Advisory Council Innovation? Right, and then what do you think could be the best approach to execute this curriculum so that we may not miss the intended outcomes?
I think we need national policy. The educational policy in South Africa must embrace these technologies. the educational policy in SADC must embrace these ideas. The educational policy at AU, because the government determines direction. And people can be creative and innovative, but we need to make sure the framework is there at the government level, at the national level. The framework is there at a continental level. And then the private sector are also on board because they are the consumers of the products. And they also will benefit from a good education. Right now what's happening is the graduates we're producing are not very useful for the companies that do exist in South Africa. So let us create graduates, products we can use effectively. It starts with national policy, national vision. But the policymaker herself must also be up to speed. As I conclude, let me say, young people, the future belongs to you. Don't listen to the old people when they say, you're future leaders. No, you are leaders of today. You must lead today, not tomorrow, today. And now you are lucky because of the information revolution, social media, the fourth industrial revolution. It's an enabler for you to become players. You must define and become the change you seek to see in the world. And don't listen. When you say Chris Hani, he made a difference as a young man. When you say Machel, he was a young man when he made a difference. When you say Mandela, they were impactful as young people. When you say Malcolm X, when you say King, when you say Fred Hampton, when you say Hugh P. Newton, and but we must know all these people I'm talking about. These were young people. Fred Hampton was 17, 18. But when you Google him and see him speak, you'll be ashamed of your level of knowledge and his when he was a high school dropout. So take charge of your lives and be impactful, make a difference. Some of you might say, no, but I want to be a journalist, I shouldn't care about the world. I want to be an engineer, I must not care about the world. You must care because you will never be respected as an African unless all Africans are doing well. You go there to MIT, to Harvard, they say, when are you going home? How come there's a war in Rwanda? You are a spokesperson for everyone. So your success, I mean, I'll give you my example. I used to go to Davos, World Economic Forum, you used to talk loud. And they say, where are you from? And then I refuse to answer. I keep talking, no, we love what you're saying, it's excellent. But where are you from? I come up to MIT, my kids, no, which country? And then eventually I say, Zimbabwe. Then, come on. If you are that smart, how come your country is messed up? When are your next elections anyway? So my superstardom, my rock star status was undermined by the bankruptcy of my country. So if you're not careful, your superstardom, your rock star status will be undermined by the poverty and bankruptcy of Africa. Fix Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Just before you sit down, just before you take a shot, Prof. Here at Saibono, we normally honor our speakers who come and nourish us with this profound insight that they have just nourished us with. And we are saying such professors, we need to give them a token of appreciation. Isn't that so? Yes. So Saibon, our senior managers, our management at large, our CEO, they are saying, thank you very much, Prof. And this is how they show their token of appreciation. Thank you, Prof. Right, colleagues, would you like to have more of this type of talks? Yes. All right, we'll definitely organize more of these talks. Thank you very much to all of you for coming to this. For the first time, you got the taste of what Speak to a Scientist is. And as the Prof said, let us diversify our study. Don't be solo when it comes to studying. Let's not look at Speak to a Scientist as scientists are only people in physics, chemistry, and so on. There are also scientists that are coming under 4IR, as you have just seen the presentation from Prof. Right, that's the wrap from us. Thank you to our IT team that have been working so hard to make sure that we get this presentation. Thank you very much to all of you for coming in such short space of time to come and listen to Prof. Thank you to our online participants who have raised their questions, who also saw the benefit from this talk. Thank you to all management at large for making these preparations that you see today. Thank you to all of you. That brings us to the end of our Speak to a Scientist program. Thank you very much.